Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jessica Harrington. Tonight on the Now Bakersfield, an award-winning show dog has reportedly gone missing here in Kern County. The dog's owner now offering a hefty reward. And tax season is almost upon us. The details on the new free service being offered by the IRS to help you file. Plus, before your next manicure, take a long look at your nails, why they might be a sign of your overall health. That's all ahead on the Now Bakersfield. Annie?
A lot of important topics in our lineup on the Now today. Even with the opioid epidemic, we're finding out a free national drug addiction hotline that could help millions of Americans is actually highly underused, the life-saving help that's available, and how it's making a difference. Also, online classes are a good bet if you're trying to advance your career while you're working. And we have a new list of the top online programs to do that without going into a lot of debt. And drone delivery is getting closer to reality with a rule change that's up for debate right now. So how are the tests going and how soon could this really happen? We have a lot to get to today on the Now.
Good evening. A champion show dog has reportedly gone missing here in Bakersfield while on the way to the Westminster Dog Show. The pet's owner has enlisted the help of a pet detective and even a psychic, and the owner is now offering a $2,000 reward to find the person who finds the pup and brings her home. The Now's Amanda Mason has more for us tonight.
She's my family. She's my beloved Fierce. She's my baby.
In the early hours on Monday, January 7th, the owner of this 4-year-old Japanese Chin show dog named Fierce says she went missing while on her way to train in Ohio with her handler, who was going to show her in February at the Westminster Dog Show in New York City.
The courier took a stop in Bakersfield. When they took a stop, they were going to get onto another long flight, so he figured he'd let her go pee and potty there in Bakersfield.
David Gutierrez says the courier, who has worked with the family for 3 years transporting show dogs, used a lead instead of a collar and leash, and she got out of the lead and ran off.
I'm going to call myself a parent because I feel like she's my child. It's the phone call a parent never wants to receive. Your child went missing. I don't know where she's at.
Gutierrez says he went straight down to Bakersfield to search for her till dark and contacted the shelters, authorities, groomers, and the community to try and find her. He says he's done everything he can think of, from hiring an animal communicator like an animal psychic to a pet detective.
Good girl. Which way?
They had me come out with search dogs, and I basically give the search dogs the scent of the pet. And the dogs are trained to follow that scent and also clear areas, search areas, see if something negative happened, the dog was hit by a car, God forbid, or if the dog's in hiding, and just do a very thorough search.
Annalisa Burns has been a pet detective for 13 years. Because Fierce is a small breed at 7 pounds, Burns used 4 search dogs.
We are really optimistic and hopeful that somebody picked this little dog up, is keeping her safe, and just doesn't know what to do with her. And many people don't want to bring a dog back to the shelter because they're worried it's going to get sick or they're worried it's going to be euthanized. There's a lot of myths about local shelters. And the reality is the shelter is the best place to bring a pet because that's where the owner can find it.
When we asked Gutierrez if she had a chip, he did not want to respond, but Burns said Fierce does not have a chip.
She's a great companion. She's lovable. You know what? If it comes down, I will give you a puppy in return. You know, we breed them, so if you have her, return her back, and I'll give you a puppy. No questions asked. We're also offering a $2,000 reward just to get her back. I don't want to put anybody under pressure. I just want her back. I wouldn't ask. I just want her home safely.
For the Now, Amanda Mason, 23 ABC.
And the dog was last seen on the corner of Knudsen and Norris Road. If you see her, you are asked to call David Gutierrez at 559-359-2807. Well, if you make $66,000 per year or less, you'll want to hear about this new free tax filing software from the IRS. It's called Free File, and it includes a state return. It works similar to the other software programs out there. The IRS says 70% of filers qualify for the free version. That's 100 million Americans. If you're over the income limit, you can get federal forms for free and fill some of them out online. You do have to file yourself. The IRS says the software is up to date with the new tax laws. It starts taking returns on the 28th, and the IRS says it plans to bring in unpaid workers to keep things moving. It's as sure as the day follows the night, Americans get their tax refund and go buy a car, but maybe not this year. Cox Automotive's chief economist put out the warning right before today's North American International Auto Show. He says the tax law will mean smaller returns for most Americans and that it will be apparent in auto sales. Last year, Americans bought 17.2 million cars and light trucks. Experts predict sales will fall to 16.8 million this year. Tariffs, rising interest rates, and expensive technology are also expected to hold back car sales this year. Well, your census questionnaire might not include a question on citizenship after a federal court ruling today. A judge ruled in New York that it is unlawful to include a question about citizenship on the 2020 census. The ruling came as good news for many California officials who feared the state stood to lose billions of dollars in federal funding if the population was undercounted. The controversial question sparked criticism against the federal government from lawmakers accusing the president of attempting to undermine participation from hard-to-count populations. This includes immigrants, legal and illegal, as well as renters. Many expect the Trump administration to appeal the decision. Annie?
Now to our news feed, starting with fallout from comments made by Congressman Steve King of Iowa. House GOP leaders voted not to give the fellow Republican any committee assignments after King complained the term white supremacist is considered offensive. King said that quote in the New York Times has been mischaracterized. Minority children are being targeted in ads for junk food, according to a new report. Researchers from the University of Connecticut found black children were twice as likely as white children to see an ad on TV for things like candy, fast food, and even soda. The study also found the food industry spent a whopping 80% of its budget advertising unhealthy food and drinks in 2017. Police in Nashville took this intruder into custody, but quickly let him go. The coyote got into a convention center while workers were getting ready for a boat show. No one was hurt, but they might want to keep a better eye on that door. And there are a lot of rules about drones, but now federal regulators are thinking about loosening up one rule. They're proposing small drones be allowed to fly over crowds of people. This could open up airspace so that drones can fly through more places and ultimately perform deliveries. The FAA is also seeking input from the public and from professionals so they can come up with new drone rules. The information could also help them create a traffic control system specifically for drones. Now, Google is testing out drone deliveries in Australia, and they're already seeing one big complaint, and that is noise. Some people have described the noise similar to chainsaws. Yeah, that's a scary sound over your head. But on the other hand, only 5 problems have been reported out of the 2,000 deliveries. Also, no accidents have been reported. And here in the U.S., the FAA has also proposed other rules that could make drone delivery a reality. The government won't look over the proposals until May, and they probably won't be effective until next year. All right, back to our lineup. Even with the opioid epidemic, we're finding out a free national drug addiction hotline that could help millions of Americans is highly underused. The life-saving help that's available and how it's making a difference for those using it. You're watching The Now. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline has answered millions of calls since it began in 2005. But did you know there's another 24/7 hotline helping those who are struggling with substance abuse? A new report shows many people don't know about it. The Now's Nicole Vowell has the life-saving help that's available.
About 15 years ago, my son Jim, he was 35, he died from an overdose of heroin and alcohol. And he had struggled with the disease off and on for about 20 plus years.
Barbara Allen knows the suffering that comes with substance abuse all too well.
I had already lost my brother, Bill. Bill also suffered the disease of addiction. And when he was 36, somebody he knew shot him to death. And she was tweaking out on crystal meth.
2 other close family members, another brother and a niece, also died due to their battles with addiction.
Essentially, I've buried 4 people to this disease.
Before their deaths, Allen tried to help find them many types of treatment. But one of the biggest issues she faced.
How do you find it? How do you find the services? Especially for someone who is in the midst of their addiction. What departments, what divisions, what agencies within the county or the state.
Today, Allen says locating that information is still a challenge. According to the Centers for Behavioral Health, only 10% of individuals who need treatment for addiction receive it. But there is one resource out there many people don't know about. Much like the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, also has a 24/7 hotline that connects those suffering with addiction to local services and care providers. It's the only free and federally managed helpline out there.
Whether it's a detox, a inpatient, an outpatient program.
Allen, now an advocate for addiction recovery, says those contacts close to home are the best resources when you or a loved one are seeking help. And SAMHSA is a good place to start.
Don't pick a treatment program based on something they read on the internet. Use a local resource, whether it's the health department, whether it's a local addiction specialist.
For the Now, I'm Nicole Vowell reporting.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, more U.S. veterans are finding jobs after they stop serving. The Military Times reporting that the number of veterans unemployed fell to an all-time low last year. That would be 3.5%. The number of homeless veterans also dropped more than 5% last year. There have been a number of new recent initiatives by private companies like Amazon and Google to hire more veterans and help them find jobs. Little bit of a creep factor here, but good info to have. Pest control company Orkin tracking and ranking the cities where they had the most calls for bed bug treatments. You can actually see the top 10 highlighted on this map. Baltimore stayed at the top of the list for the 3rd year in a row. The nation's capital, Washington, D.C., was 2nd. Chicago came in 3rd. But Orkin says bed bugs have nothing to do with sanitation. They are hitchhikers. More bed bugs are actually found in homes and apartments than they are in hotel rooms.
The FDA started inspecting some foods again today. This as the agency says hundreds of furloughed employees agreed to come back to work. No, they're not getting paid as long as the government is shut down. These unpaid workers will focus on high-risk foods like cheese, dairy, and some fresh produce. Certain meat and egg inspectors never stopped working, and that's because the law requires constant USDA inspection of those items. Well, take a peek at your fingernails. Do they have ridges or chips, or are they discolored? The condition of your fingernails may be clues to your overall health. For doctors, nails can sometimes be the biggest clue that there is a medical problem. Diseases often affect many different parts of the body. For example, we commonly think of diabetes causing damage to the eyes, but it can also cause fingernails to turn a yellowish color. Similar to this, nails are often one of the biggest clues that someone has lung cancer, psoriasis, or liver disease. Animal lovers, the California Living Museum is looking for docents to help provide information for their visitors. If you don't know, docents are sort of similar to tour guides or curators in that they help provide animal facts and history to visitors. Calm is hosting a 7-week docent training course at the museum next month from February 23rd through April 6th. The training will be held from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. each day. There's no cost for the course. However, docents must submit to fingerprinting and a TB test at at their expense. The deadline to apply is February 16th by 4 p.m. For more information, call 872-2256. Let's take a live look at downtown Bakersfield. This is kind of like the calm before the storm, right, Allison?
Exactly. The calm before our next storm and the calm after the storm that we experienced earlier this afternoon. Bakersfield received 0.02 of an inch of rain. That was right around 4 p.m. And then most of that is now pushing off to our east. So we're just seeing pockets of very light rain down in the mountains as well as in the desert cities. And those strong winds that we've been experiencing all day, well, those are slowly calming down as well. But we continue to track the wind advisory that is impacting us here in Bakersfield, as well as the high wind warning impacting the mountains. Those will be in effect until 10 p.m. tonight. That means good news for our air quality tomorrow. Another day spent in the good range with an AQI of 29, slightly better than what we were seeing today. And there are no restrictions, but birding is discouraged. Now we're tracking an atmospheric river that's going to be making its way into the county starting in the early evening hours on Wednesday. Winds will be picking up. Still very breezy conditions, not quite as strong as what we were seeing today, but these showers are going to be continuing into the early morning hours on Thursday. By the time you're waking up, well, this is at 5 p.m. We were seeing pockets of very heavy rainfall down in Fraser Park, Tehachapi, as well as up in Lake Isabella. And those scattered showers will be continuing throughout the early morning hours into the early afternoon. Winds will be dying down as we head into the evening hours. But this is an atmospheric river bringing tropical moisture into the county. So that means temperatures are going to be up to 68 degrees as a high on Wednesday, holding on to those 60s through Thursday. And then as this storm passes, we're tracking the chance to see some fog later this weekend. The Now Bakersfield will be right back.
Another reason to make sleep a priority is topping our news feed. Sleeping less than 6 hours a night on a regular basis puts you at a higher risk of heart disease. It causes plaque to build up in the arteries. Same goes for those who keep waking up through the night. Now, the research was posted in the American College of Cardiology Journal. The U.S. Justice Department just reversed its opinion about online gambling, now saying all forms of online betting are illegal. 7 years ago, though, the department said only sports betting was illegal under the Wire Act. How this will impact states that recently added online betting isn't clear just yet. And Walmart is going high-tech with its next consolidation center under construction in California. It will have more automation and technology to increase the amount of products it gets, sorts, and even ships. So that should mean better service for all of us. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky is having hernia surgery, and he's going to Canada to get it. But court papers show the surgery is related to the attack by his neighbor back in 2017. Paul's spokesperson said he'll have the surgery at a world-renowned private hospital in Ontario. He'll pay cash for it, anywhere between $5,000 to $8,000. But Canada has universal health care for its own citizens, something Paul has been outspoken against. But because of Rand Paul making plans to get his surgery in Canada, it's actually bringing new attention to medical tourism. The Now's Corey Rangel is looking into how much you could actually save from this and the risk about it.
Melissa Kennard-Morrow is packing her bags. Not for a vacation, but for a dental appointment in Costa Rica. As a small business owner in Florida, Melissa could not afford the $20,000 surgery to have 4 teeth removed.
We're self-employed. We don't have insurance. Can't afford the insurance. It's, we can't.
So, to save money, she took a risk and went overseas. The procedure cost half as much, which included the trip.
There was nothing I found that led me to believe I would be not well cared for, if anything, better cared for. And that actually ended up being the case.
Traveling abroad can save patients up to 90%, depending on the country and procedure, according to Patients Beyond Borders, which tracks medical tourism.
Americans that are one condition away from financial disaster, more and more are seeking options for care abroad.
The group estimates nearly 2 million Americans will travel outside the U.S. for medical care this year.
Medical travel or medical tourism is as safe as getting care in your own country, provided that you do your homework. And that's the holy grail.
Finding accredited hospitals and board-certified doctors can reduce your risk because there are dangers. The CDC just issued a warning after 12 Americans went to Mexico for cheaper surgeries and came back with drug-resistant infections. And if something goes wrong, in some cases, your hometown doctor or dentist might be reluctant to help, according to health policy experts.
He's not going to touch it, because then he becomes liable for anything that continues to go wrong.
Meanwhile, Melissa is headed back to Costa Rica for a follow-up visit.
It was the best dental experience of my life.
And she even convinced her husband to go too. For the Now, I'm Corey Rangel.
Corey, thank you. Next in our lineup, online classes are a good bet if you're trying to advance your career while you work. And we have a new list of the top online programs to do that without going into a lot of debt. That's when the Now continues. More adults are likely to turn to online schools to change careers or even get an advanced degree. It usually is cheaper and easier to manage around work and family, but starting the search can be daunting, and you want to make sure that you're getting the most for your money. U.S. News did the homework, ranking the best online programs. Schools at the top of the list generally have students graduate with lower amounts of debt. For these bachelor degrees, the average debt is about $19,000. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University came in number 1 for that, followed by Arizona State. Ohio State University Columbus and Oregon State tied for 3rd, and these are also top-ranked schools for veterans. Careers in computer and information technology are exploding, and nursing is another popular career change that people often go online for. You can see the top 3 schools for both of those careers on your screen. For computer information technology, number 1 is the University of Southern California. For nursing, it's Johns Hopkins University, and of course, in-state tuition is still cheaper for some online-only degrees. So you should start with schools in your state first. Robots that roam stores looking for mispriced items, electronic price labels on items you buy every day, more self-checkout. Tomorrow on the Now, we're looking at how retail is going to change and change quick. The technology and trends we're seeing at the National Retail Federation's big show in New York.
Coming up tonight on 23 ABC News at 11, the road to the Scripps National Spelling Bee has begun. A look at the local competition that was held tonight to determine a district-level champion. Again, that's tonight at 11. In the meantime, though, we are tracking the very latest in weather. Lots happening across the county.
A lot is happening. We are tracking the 3rd storm of the week making its way into the county overnight Wednesday throughout the day on Thursday. This is an atmospheric river, so that means it is going to be a soaker. We're also going to be seeing strong winds just like we were feeling this afternoon. That all begins tomorrow evening.
All right, strap in. It's going to go again. That's going to do it for us here on The Now. We'll see you back here tonight at 11.